Naoya Inoue entered the ring as one of the most feared fighters in boxing. Undefeated, explosive, almost unstoppable. Most people believe Nonito Donaire was simply too old to keep up with the monster. But that prediction didn't last long, because before the night was over, Inoue would suffer the toughest test of his career. He would fight through a serious injury, and millions of fans would see a completely different side of the Japanese superstar. But let me ask you this. Was this the fight that truly proved Naoya Inoue was an all-time great? Or did Donaire deserve even more credit for what happened that night? Let me know in the comments. Why everyone expected Inoue to win easily. By 2019, Naoya Inoue wasn't just winning fights, he was destroying world champions. Knockout after knockout, he earned the nickname the Monster. His speed, power, and precision made him look almost unbeatable. That's why, before this fight, most people believed another dominant victory was inevitable. On the other side stood Nonito Donaire, a future Hall of Famer, a 4-division world champion, but he was already 36 years old. Many fans believed his best years were behind him. They respected everything he had accomplished, but few thought he still had enough to beat boxing's fastest rising superstar. In fact, many predicted Inoue would stop him before the final bell. So let me ask you this. Did you believe Donaire had a real chance before the fight? Let me know in the comments. But experience can't be measured by age alone. Donaire had spent years fighting the very best. He had seen every style, every situation, and while most people expected another easy night for Inoue, Donaire was about to remind the boxing world why champions should never be underestimated. Donaire proves everyone wrong. From the opening bell, it became clear this wasn't going to be another easy night for Naoya Inoue. Donaire wasn't intimidated. He wasn't backing up. He met Inoue with sharp counters, perfect timing, and the kind of confidence only a veteran can have. Suddenly, the monster was facing a problem he hadn't expected. Every time Inoue tried to explode forward, Donaire had an answer. His left hook kept finding the target, his jab disrupted Inoue's rhythm, and his experience allowed him to stay calm under constant pressure. Round after round, the fight became more competitive than anyone predicted. Some fans even believed Donaire was winning the early rounds. So let me ask you this. Who did you have ahead after 4 rounds, Inoue or Donaire? Let me know in the comments. But while Donaire was proving everyone wrong, something even bigger was about to happen. One perfectly timed punch would completely change the fight. It would test Inoue like never before. And for the first time in his professional career, the monster would have to rely on more than just his power. He would have to survive. Up until this point, everything had gone against the script. The aging champion wasn't supposed to be winning these exchanges. But Nonito Donaire had already exposed something nobody expected. For the first time in his career, Naoya Inoue looked vulnerable. The real question was no longer whether Inoue could win, it was whether he could survive what was coming next. Be honest, at this point, who did you think was winning the fight, Inoue or Donaire? Let me know in the comments. Inoue suffers the toughest moment of his career. Then everything changed. Donaire saw the opening and fired a massive left hook. It landed perfectly. Inoue's head snapped back. Seconds later, he realized something was seriously wrong. His right eye was swelling fast. His vision had become blurry. The man known as the Monster was suddenly fighting injured. Later, it was revealed that Inoue had suffered a fractured orbital bone. Every punch became harder to see. Every exchange became a gamble. But Donaire refused to let him recover. He kept pressing forward. He kept throwing that dangerous left hook. And for the first time in Inoue's career, fans weren't asking if he would win by knockout. They were wondering if he could even survive. Be honest, did you think Donaire was about to pull off the upset? Let me know in the comments. But this was the moment that separated a great fighter from a future legend. Inoue could have panicked. He could have played it safe. Instead, he stayed calm. He started making small adjustments. He stopped fighting with emotion and began fighting with intelligence. And little by little, the momentum started to change once again. Inoue refuses to break. Most fighters would have fallen apart after an injury like that. Inoue couldn't see clearly out of one eye. Every exchange became more dangerous. Every mistake could end the fight. But instead of panicking, he stayed composed. He stopped chasing the knockout. He started thinking like a champion. That's when the fight began to change. Inoue adjusted his footwork. He picked his shots more carefully. He relied on speed instead of reckless aggression. Little by little, Donaire's attacks became easier to read. Cleaner combinations started landing. The momentum was slowly shifting back toward the monster. But here's the real question. Was this the moment Inoue proved he was more than just a knockout puncher? Let me know in the comments. Donaire was still dangerous. One punch could change everything. But Inoue had found his rhythm again. He was no longer fighting with emotion. He was solving the puzzle, one round at a time. And then he spotted an opening that had been there all along. Seconds later, one perfectly placed body shot would bring the entire arena to its feet. One body shot changes the fight. By the 11th round, both men had already given everything they had. Donaire was still dangerous. Inoue was still fighting with limited vision. But despite the injury, the monster had slowly taken back control. Then he saw the opening he had been waiting for all night. Inoue stepped in with a sharp combination. Donaire raised his guard to protect his head. That was exactly what Inoue wanted. In an instant, he ripped a crushing left hook to the body. Donaire froze. He dropped to one knee. The arena exploded. For the first time all night, it looked like the fight was finally over. But champions don't give up that easily. Donaire beat the count and refused to quit. He survived the round and kept fighting until the final bell. And that's exactly why this fight is still remembered as one of the greatest battles of the modern era. Naoya Inoue walked into this fight as boxing's most feared knockout artist. But he walked out, proving something even more important. He could survive, he could adapt, and he could win even when everything went against him. Nonito Donaire may not have left the ring with the victory, but he reminded the world why legends are never finished until the final bell. He gave the monster the toughest night of his career. But here's the question fans still debate today. Was this the fight that truly made Naoya Inoue a pound-for-pound superstar? Or does Nonito Donaire deserve just as much credit for pushing him to his absolute limit? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.